What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days. Fred is back with another full length. Hasn't been that long technically because he released his Lucy's USB compilation earlier this year. But really, this is the first Fred Again album to come out since I think the Blow Up really completed. Actual Life 3 was kind of as things were cooking back in 2022. But man, since then, Fred Again is by far, I think, the most in demand electronic artist right now, just from, I think, a cultural interest sense, a critical response sense. Look to him being the first electronic artist to headline Reading and Leeds earlier this year. Think about Fred's, I think, iconic viral Boiler Room set recently. Of course, getting a Best New Artist Grammy nomination, which I was so happy to see. The behind the scenes producer to fully public facing artist transition is complete for Fred. I think some people might forget that he originally was a big time producer for big acts like an Ed Sheeran, like a Stormzy, and he's still doing that kind of work. But now, I think he almost has this cult like status in terms of just how quickly he's risen. Of course, I can't forget the iconic last minute announced Madison Square Garden set that Fred, Skrillex, and Fortet all performed. I believe that was at the end of last year, again, somewhat recently. And the train just feels like it's not going to stop. What impressed me most about Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days, is the structure. 20 songs, really 10 full songs, and 10 30-second interludes delineating the 10 days. It's a pretty fun concept for an electronic album. Of course, Fred Again has blown up largely in part to his unique production style involving, I think, really eclectic sampling has come to be. But now he's actually really working well with others. Almost all of these songs have features. Because Fred will often loop and really pulse with the music, I think the sample light songs from him actually kind of require vocalists. And thankfully, this album, towards its conclusion, gives us, I think, one of the best songs Fred's ever made with Peace You Need, with the Joy Anonymous vocals fitting that piano line like a glove. That song with the loop, the vocal hook, the bass at the end, absolute knockout. Of course, this album also features two singles that were big hits for Fred already. Places to Be, featuring Anderson .Paak and Chico, with really high tempo, one of the highest energy songs he's ever made. That song's really taken off. I think it's fantastic as well. Adore You, track 2, also has come on for him as well. It's fun to hear him with someone like Sampha on Fearless, just because it starts subtle and is really just Sampha vocals. I was quite impressed with the song 10 as well, because Jim Legacy does his best Drake impression, singing like croony Drake, it's like Take Care era singing Drake vibe. I think that song could be his next big hit. I think that one's an instant smash, honestly. Glow also stands out, just the looping, it's really propulsive yet still kind of soft and smooth, but the way he's able to build momentum and tempo in his songs, I think, is really special, and that's what makes his music really catchy. And I think with Fred, I think the reason a lot of people are excited about him, critically speaking, is he's one of the electronic artists that's making really listenable, listening experience albums. It's not purely for the rave. It's not purely for dancing. And of course, you can certainly do that. People will. It's very dancey. It makes you move. But I think it's also really well constructed and produced and sequenced, and it's just a fun album experience too. So this is pretty cool. It's been fun to see him kind of transition out of the Actual Life trilogy into the, era before this with songs like Leave Me Alone, which became a big hit, and now into this with 10 Days, where he's definitely smoothed out, and we have less samples in a certain sense, but I think less samples and more actual guests is kind of a nice trade-off. So I'm sure we'll get plenty of samples again in the future. But let me know, what did you think of Fred Again's fourth album, 10 Days? What do you think about his maybe next step that he's taken with this album, and in terms of leaving the really eclectic sampling behind, at least for now? What do you think about that? And what do you want to hear from Fred next? Obviously, I would love him to go on tour in the US. For starters, he has not toured with much regularity in the US. He's played here, obviously, but that would be cool for starters to actually be a full artist and go on tour. Of course, a lot of DJs don't do that. They just kind of play various clubs and whatnot. But it would be cool if Fred's able to even do some kind of club tour. I know we don't really have the club scene here the way they do in Europe, so it makes sense that we haven't really had it happen, but I want it to happen. We'll see. But let me know what you think about Fred Against 10 Days, and for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.